our work right now on the planet is to bring honoring and sanctity to the invisible just as much as the visible. The invisible results are things like feeling good, things like feeling connected, things like our health, our well-being, a feeling of joy, pleasure.
Embodiment can't be faked. Once you're in an open state where you actually can see through a clear lens, you're not clouded by fear, you're not clouded by the amygdala, you're not clouded by the society's news and all the fear-based stuff, and you're just with you. Then you get to decide where you think we actually are.
It is possible to navigate pain with grace.
Energy is information. We're here to experience the full spectrum.
That worthiness is hard for you. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a muscle that we kind of have to learn how to access. You are not disempowered, and you have power in every area of your life all the time.
I believe that chronic illness is an opportunity for us to heal.
Health, it's a choice. Listening to your body if you so choose.
My prayer for the world would be that they would know the infinite love of God.
Aloha and welcome to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast with your host, Jen Mons. Join me each week for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around awakening to your soul purpose through 5-element well-being. Thank you so much for joining in. Aloha and welcome back to another week on the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast. And we are diving into prosperity again a little bit deeper this week. So if you didn't join in last week, I would invite you to go listen to that podcast episode where it's an hour-long episode, so get your notebook ready. We created our prosperity roadmap. We uncovered what prosperity consciousness is through the 5 elements of wealth and well-being. We dove a little bit into some of the money blocks, which we're going to go into deeper today. Today is all about awakening your money story and your mindset blocks, and started to understand things like receiving and vulnerability. We got clear on our why, like why does this matter? What exactly is the energy of prosperity? It allows us to amplify our voice and our values. It gives us financial freedom. It gives us choice. It gives us the opportunity to invest in ourselves and the things that we believe in. So those are some of the things that we covered last week. We dove just a little bit into awakening your money origin story. We talked a little bit about scarcity consciousness and prosperity consciousness. And this week, we're going to dive deeper into awakening your money story because for some of us, not all of us, but for most of us, a lot of what we have learned about money, we've been conditioned to learn. I believe that we are born created from love. We are born in abundance. We are born in the energy of possibility. And then what happens is we go through life and we get hurt and people let us down and things happen, and we are taught things that then become our own beliefs that may not have been our beliefs to begin with, or may not be truths. They may not be your truth, or they may not be capital T truths, but things that we've learned to adapt to, and one of those things is scarcity consciousness. So today is all about awakening your money origin story. So go ahead and grab a notebook. I'm going to give you some journal prompts to sit with and some takeaways from this episode. So everybody has a money story. Money is a vehicle for transformation, and it's a vehicle for our life experience. It gives us freedom. It gives us choice. And many of us have an unhealthy relationship to money based on beliefs that we adopt or learn. It's, like I said, not something we're born with. It's something that we learn. Money is a very personal thing, and a healthy relationship with money is going to help you attract the abundance that you're aligned with, which is why we want to do this. So I want to invite you to refer back to the 6 areas of money blocks that we talked about last week. And if you don't remember those areas, then I'm going to go through them really quickly. The first one is that working hard equals success. So just anything that could come up in that area. And we do have a money block book. We have like 10 to 20 listed in each of these areas in our prosperity course. If you joined the Prosperity Roadmap workshop last week, you were able to see all those and dive deeper if you're struggling really identifying what yours is. We're just going to go over the 6 basic ones here. Working hard equals success. Money's not spiritual. Money's evil. Wealthy people are fake, unauthentic, greedy, talented, lucky, dishonest. Whatever it is, it's probably not something positive if it's a block. You might have blocks around scarcity, failure, or debt. Maybe even beliefs that your worth is tied to your financial abundance, which it's not. Or lastly, it just might not be. You might not believe that it's aligned with your values and beliefs. But for example, if you value health, then you will have more choice and financial freedom in buying organic food type of thing. So you believe it's not aligned with your value and beliefs, but it actually is when you're in alignment. And so you have judgments and beliefs that people will make if you make a certain amount of money. So those are the 6 areas of the money block. So hopefully you've identified your top one and you have it written down. This week, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the different money saboteurs. So you might have seen this on my Instagram because I have posted some things around the money saboteurs. There are 7 types that I created that I have noticed. So I'm going to list these and I want you to sit with these and invite you to think about which one might be true for you. So number 1 is the people pleaser. This is for those of you that loved my podcast on the toxic cycle of people pleasing. That was one of my most popular episodes, and I can relate. The people pleaser is the most common money saboteur. She's the one who won't send a meal back at a restaurant if the wrong menu item comes. She's afraid to speak her truth. If she runs her own business, she likely doesn't charge enough for her time, her gifts, and her talents. This was me for many, many years until 2018. She might feel resentful, sad, or frustrated and unsupported. And if she invests in herself, she often has buyer's remorse. So she'll probably also kind of sit in indecision because she wants to make a decision that she thinks the other person wants, but it's actually not, aligned for her. Or she makes the decision to do something and then she second guesses herself all the time. Money behaviors of the people pleaser are bartering, specifically if you own your own business or you trade time for services. Trading time for money is also one of the ways that we people please, rather than value for money. They may give things away freely. They may give away their time, or they may not charge enough, or they may do things for people secretly hoping to get something in return, but doing it to be appreciated. This can be the Enneagram 2, the helper. The people pleaser doesn't like conflict and does not speak her truth. So she might get taken advantage of. Real easy target for narcissists, so be careful if you're a people pleaser. She often says things like, "It's all good, I'm fine, it's okay." You ever hear that? Have you ever said that? It's fine, whatever. That's usually the people pleaser. So what does the people pleaser need? They need connection. They need empowering beliefs, healthy boundaries, courage, and oftentimes they need to be heard. So with each of these saboteurs, we're going to go through what they are, what their money behaviors are, what they often say, and what their needs are. So that was number 1, the people pleaser. Number 2 is the martyr. The martyr is often in the world of service to help others. And I'm going to go ahead and include this Money Saboteur book in ebook in a link to download this ebook in the notes. So if you don't remember all this, because this is really good stuff. I came up with these based on 15 years of coaching, and I would see these saboteurs in other areas, and this is how they relate to money. So the martyr's often in the world of service to help others. This would be probably my number 1 saboteur. Maybe that or the people pleaser. Kind of depends. I don't have them anymore, but this is what, or the fixer, which is one we'll talk about. You might notice that you maybe have some qualities of each of these, but think about it as it relates to money. So in the world of service to help others, might be a healer, coach, or doctor, but can also show up in other professions and areas of life. She may feel unappreciated in her efforts. The martyr gives, but subconsciously expects in return. Oftentimes, feelings of anger, resentment, and frustration show up when giving is not returned. So it's like giving of your time freely and then being exhausted. That could also be a way that it shows up. The money behaviors of the martyr include giving with strings attached, overworking, perfectionism, overwhelmed, and piling more on the schedule. Like, can't say no. Usually good at things too. Indulges in a lot of new things. Feels very scattered when it comes to how they use money in alignment with their values. They often say or feel some of the things that you hear them say. If I don't do it, no one will. So they think they have to do everything. It has to be me. I do everything. No one appreciates, sees, or values me. The needs of the martyr are support. So this is the person who really wants to be supported, but has a hard time asking for it or receiving it. Wants to be seen, validated, has a deep need for connection, and likes to be invited. So loves the invitation to not be the person doing everything, loves the invitation to sort of join something rather than being the person that leads something, if that makes sense. Number 3, money saboteur is the fixer. So the fixer is similar to the martyr, but is avoiding their own patterns by constantly rescuing others. So this is a coping strategy that falls across many areas of life, but also our relationship to money. They are the ones giving advice, bailing people out, and overgiving. They love to feel valued and recognized for their efforts in return for helping others. They often feel busy, important, analytical, and they might have a hard time with trust. It's the analytical spender. So sometimes the fixer is also in that paralysis by analysis phase, like before they choose to invest in themselves, because they're very much in their head. They're trying to figure everything out, trying to figure out the possibilities, trying to figure out the outcomes, have to have the test results in order to get help type thing. I mean, really an invitation to trust that not everything has to be logical and results oriented. Money behaviors of the fixer are that they can buy lots of gifts for other people. They may spend money for approval. They may seek approval before spending. So they may not have ownership of their value system enough to take ownership in their investments or their spending. They often say, I have to help them. I have to do this. Hopefully they will change. So they may, sometimes there's a little bit of a sticky area because you can be an enabler by being a fixer when you're trying to help somebody, say, change their health and you're buying vitamins for them, but they're not taking them type of thing. Or one of the things they can say, because they believe they are here to save everybody, is that they're just too busy. And so they often feel overwhelmed. What the fixer needs is connection. You can see connection is important because if you remember last week, we talked about the value of intimacy. Connection is important. When we have an unhealthy relationship to money, we feel disconnected to people, to our values, to our bodies. It's amazing, but it's true. Trust, safety. So really usually lacks trust because kind of thinks everything is broken. Acceptance. Nothing has to be fixed. What if the fixer adopted the belief that everything's okay? Movement. They often are in their heads a lot and need to move into their bodies. Trust. I said that one already. I listed it twice in this Saboteur ebook because it's important for the fixer. And loyalty. The fourth one is the victim. The victim can be tricky to spot at first because they often rope you in with the story around what isn't working. If you're a coach or a healer, this is probably a person that you may not want to take on as a client because some people are so deeply rooted in their victim consciousness that they may take advantage of you, or there's so much in their story, they'll create a performance around that story. The victim consciousness can be very deeply rooted, and you just want to be really mindful not to enable this. Same thing with a parent, same thing in a relationship. So the victim is tricky because they rope you in with a story about what's not working. They want to be rescued. They often need extra attention and support. They immediately go into what isn't working. Sometimes they think they're the fixer, or sometimes they think they're the victim, and sometimes these two can overlap because sometimes being the fixer, like I have to do it all, is actually in victim consciousness. But this person, nothing ever works out for them. No matter what, it's probably going to be hard to make this person happy. No matter what they invest in themselves, they're probably going to only focus on what didn't work. So, not that they overthought it, because that's probably the fixer, but really nothing ever works out for them. They're often in scarcity and unwilling to receive support. So even if they do invest in themselves in some way, or they do start going to the gym or whatever it is, they're just not choosing to see the positive results. So these people can be really, really hard to kind of pull out of that victim consciousness. They don't take help. They don't receive help. They think they can do everything. And a lot of times this is a cry for help. They don't allow themselves to fully participate. They have a hard time trusting people in receiving money, results, and they often have buyer's remorse, cancel or break promises and contracts. I've definitely seen this in my coaching career. If I do see this, I no longer will take a client on like that, but I did have an instant where this worked, and the person didn't pay me, so it was really easy to cancel our contract. But she was very much stuck in that victim consciousness, and no matter what, she was always going to choose to be in that because she had shared with me that, the previous experiences weren't helpful either, so she couldn't even give me one positive thing about it. So just want to be, really careful. And if this is you, if you are in victim consciousness, if you really truly believe nothing ever works out, this one can be hard to be aware of, but if you're aware of that, this might be the opportunity to ask for help. Usually when people are deeply in victim consciousness, they don't even ask for help because they don't even believe it's possible. But they often break promises. They think the world's against them. They don't trust anybody. They project, they blame. No matter what and where they are, they will never be enough. They could be millionaires and they won't be enough. They have a hard time forgiving past mistakes, and they can hold to grudges and project emotions, which is very disempowering. They might feel hopeless or sad, mistrust or anxiety, or they could be very angry and controlling. So those are kind of two emotions that can come out of that. The money behaviors of the victim, they're not reliable. They don't take self-responsibility. They may have experienced debt and unhealthy spending. So they're not actually consciously investing, they're unconsciously spending. Even if it's a large amount of money, it was made unconsciously. So this happens a lot with the victim. Scarcity, huge with the victim. Never enough, can't trust anybody. They'll let it sit in their bank account. They might hoard. They just don't trust. They often say, I don't know what to do. I need help or help me. But sometimes they're actually not really willing to receive it. What they need is discernment. They need someone, like when I was in this situation with a client, a new client, I broke the contract because that's what she needed. She needed to miss out on the program because she wasn't willing to make the payment because of her victim consciousness. But if I had said, oh, it's okay, don't worry, then I was only enabling her behavior. So they need really healthy boundaries because otherwise you're enabling them. And they need trust, just like every money behavior needs, because embodied trust is prosperity. And they need a balance of truth and compassion. So you want to have compassion for them because they're in a place of victim, but you also need to keep that healthy trust and discernment for them. Number 5 is the tyrant. The tyrant is the saboteur that likes to control everything. I've had an experience with a tyrant as well. They lack trust in others, mostly sometimes because they might be untrustworthy. It can lead to being untrustworthy if they aren't, but usually if they think everybody's out to get them, but they're not in victim consciousness, they have to control everything. It means that they don't trust. And if they don't trust anything or anyone, I would just be really careful about trusting their decision-making process because they don't trust themselves if they don't trust anybody else, because that's where the need for control comes from. The tyrant wants to win at all costs. She wants to control everything. She's obsessed with her image usually. So these are people that are obsessed with image. They have a hard time asking for support. They have a really hard time receiving support. And even if you give it to them, they won't give you credit. They think they do it all. They're often successful. They're the most successful because they control, but it's the woman who thinks that she has to work hard and hustle and that her image is everything in order to have financial freedom. She loves to be the center of attention. She's often magnetic and charming. She probably likes luxury and glam. This is a totally different person than the previous ones. They're very need external validation because that's the control thing. They're the ones who think that money makes, that they are the reasons that we often think money looks bad because when you're successful, because sometimes they can come across as being greedy. They wear it well. They'll do whatever it takes to be successful, to uphold their image. They burn bridges. Their health isn't optimal. Relationships are not optimal. And they just don't have close, healthy relationships in abundance in many areas of their life, except for success and career. So some of you may know somebody like this. I can thank a person like that for the reason that I created this course, because I was in a collaboration that ended up in that. The money behaviors of the tyrant, they spend and invest on their image and their appearance. They spend a lot on nice things. I'm not saying that's bad. Go ahead and do it. That's super awesome. But that's their value system, is image. They don't offer to pay for their portion. They might use people to their advantage. They budget and track everything out of their need for control. They might say, no one can do it as good as me. No one has ever helped me. I'll do whatever it takes. So just be aware of the money tyrant, or notice if you have controlling money behaviors or if you might have a tendency to be a money tyrant. Number 6, I've seen this one quite a few times, probably because of my experiences as a coach and a healer in different modalities, as a yoga teacher and an energy healer, and also somebody who has just been in many, many circles of spiritual healers. This one would probably be related to a block around money isn't spiritual, but this is the free spirit. And it's the idea that spiritual people shouldn't be paid because it's out of love. And I disagree with that. Spiritual people do not have to be poor. Again, so many spiritual teachers teach on this. Healers, coaches, yogis, gardeners, I believe all have a place at the table of abundance. If you think about it, take any celebrity, your favorite celebrity, your celebrity's yoga teacher or chef is paid very well. They're paid more than $20 an hour, trust me, which is what I was paid as a yoga teacher way back in the day when I was teaching yoga. So some yoga teachers are paid very well. The free spirit is the one who dreams and spends without worry or care. They trust that money is manifesting, and it's manifesting enough and money will just show up, and sometimes it does. If it does, you probably got lucky. It's not sustainable because true manifestation requires clarity and aligned action. The free spirit does not take aligned action, is not intentional with money. It's super important to be intentional. They often bypass responsibility in many areas of life and have a hard time finishing what they start. The money behaviors of the free spirit, they invest in resources on their image of being a free spirit. Yoga pants. And I'm totally just saying that because I love the yoga community. I've been a yoga teacher, but I always find it interesting that people could pay $150 for, a yoga pants, but then they would want to pay $50 for a workshop. They often change what they love, so they're very kind of like a chameleon a little bit. They can be irresponsible with money. They may just all of a sudden drop $5,000 on a whimsical experience that they know nothing about just because it just felt right. Well, do a little research too. It's important to have that balance. And I'm a totally woo spiritual person, but I should say I have also seen where the free spirit is sabotaging behavior. It's important to have that balance. They likely have had debt. They've had a job but not a career. So, jobs here and there, but not a real fulfilling, sustainable, resourceful career where they're being paid well and taking ownership. They're the fun person at the party who spends without care. They talk about manifesting money, but they don't take action. So manifestation's an interesting word. I love it, and then I don't love it because I think it's misused. I think you just want to be careful not to think that you can just manifest magically without creating alignment or taking aligned action. They often say, I'm just manifesting, I just trust. I don't have money for X, Y, and Z, but then they'll spend unconsciously on something else. What the free spirit needs is accountability, aligned action, guidance, a budget, firm truth. You got to tell this person. I had a former client who I just shared this with her. She was struggling with money, and I just said, look, this free spirit, this is you. And once we began working through that, she started creating a lot more abundance. It was a combination of this and the people pleaser. And they need safety. The final money saboteur is the saver. The saver, this is number 7, is the one who pinches pennies for a rainy day, but buys 3 or more of everything. And always when it's on sale. So you're not really saving anything because you're just buying 3 of them at the sale price. She buys cheap things over luxury things, has a hard time investing in anything, vacation, education, clothes, or home. She's also probably the person more likely to invest in a certification over personal development. So I see that a lot as well. It's you have to get something you have to get a tangible result for your exchange of money, which is not trust. She often lives below her means and doesn't allow money to work for her or to enjoy the fruits of her labor. So this is where receiving comes in. She's a hard worker and is afraid money will run out. There's never enough, lots of scarcity. She invests in her retirement and tries to pay everything off right away. Those things are great if you are also choosing to live in the cycle of giving and receiving. If you're just receiving and putting all your money away for retirement, like there's no guarantee. Retirement's not a guarantee. So if you have a dream to go on a trip before the age of 50 and you haven't done it yet, that is not prosperity consciousness. It's got to be a balance. Money behaviors of the saver are they buy 3 of everything, they only buy on sale or with a coupon, they're the coupon clippers, they hardly invest in themselves. These are the hardest ones to invest in themselves. In my experience as a life coach, unless it's certification. They buy cheap gifts, they don't value luxury, they do lots of research. These are the research buyers. So we had the analytical, which is kind of similar, but these are the ones that are going to research and really take a very long time to make a decision, that whole paralysis by analysis all over again. The investigator who shops around for the best deal. They often say, that's too expensive, I don't have those resources, I don't have that type of disposable income. Who would pay for that is something else that they might say. And what they need is connection, safety. They need to take risks because risk is how you step into trust. They need passion. They need joy. They need permission, and they need to release. They need a really big cathartic release around just all that's been holding them back. So those are the saboteurs. I'm going to just mention really quick, because this will be in your ebook, a couple of the podcasts that have been related to prosperity. As we tie up this episode, I want to invite you to just consider which money saboteur shows up for me. And I'm going to drop a link for you to download this ebook in the show notes. But which saboteur do I relate to? And then be curious, like, what other area of my life does this saboteur show up? So really quickly, as a gift, episode 136 is an I Am Worthy meditation. Episode 135, amplify your voice and values through prosperity. Episode 134, a visualization to embody prosperity. Episode 133, allow your passion to create prosperity. Episode 132, the energy of prosperity. And episode 85, a prosperity prayer. So those are going to be some that you can check out if you want to dive deeper into this. Understanding your money saboteur is going to help you to move through the patterns that are creating your blocks. So super important. That's why we want to just know, like, what is the saboteur that shows up? So I have a couple of journaling prompts I want to share with you in case you want to dive deeper. And again, you're invited to sign up for the prosperity course. You're so ready for this. You want to dive in. You're welcome to join us. But here's some journal prompts I want to give you to sit with if you're really loving this as much as I am and as much as we are in our current prosperity group. So what money story have I been carrying around that I'm ready to release? Where did it come from, and how is it not serving me? So based on what we talked about last week and this week, hopefully you have some idea of the block. You probably felt it in your body. And if you're really struggling with this is where the group course is so helpful. And you also have the option to upgrade with a private prosperity roadmap session with me, where I just get intuitively laser-focused coaching into your own personal money story. We just dive super deep, get real clear on what it is to move through it. So just keep that in your back pocket. But really understanding, like, is this story even mine? Where did it come from? And am I ready to release this? Because sometimes people stuck in scarcity have that need for safety, and releasing feels scary. But it's also freedom. The second question is, who or what do I need to forgive in order to move forward and create new beliefs? Oh, so good. This is so good. Because once we realize that we have been conditioned to think a certain way, then we probably might feel all the feels. We might be angry, might be sad, might be resentful. And in order to move through that, we might need to forgive. We might need to forgive a parent who walked out on us and left us with a single mom, struggling to live off food stamps. Or we might need to forgive a friend or an ex-spouse for betrayal that ended up in a lawsuit and financially drained us. Or we might need to forgive a boss who had to fire us. So what do I need to forgive in order to move forward? Sometimes we need to forgive ourselves for we start to get into like, how did I attract this person who took advantage of me? Or how was I not enough at work to where I got fired? The next question is, what does financial freedom mean to me? What are my beliefs around wealth and money and abundance and prosperity? Those are all different. Wealth, money, abundance, and prosperity. Money to me is a part of abundance and prosperity and wealth, but it's not all of it. If you're a billionaire, but you're not happily in love and you don't have a family and you don't have your health, what does it matter? You're not going to live you don't have longevity and you don't have love. The next question is, what reframes am I ready to believe about money to create a healthy relationship with money moving forward? So we're looking at the original story, and how am I willing to reframe this? What are the possibilities? And then I want to invite you between this week and next week to take a look at your finances. Set aside some time to take a look at your finances. If you're really into this series and you really want to listen, you want to dive deeper into healing this relationship because it's keeping you from the things you love. You're not able to travel. You're not able to invest in what you want to invest in. You're not able to invest in yourself. You're not able to buy the car you want or do whatever it is that you want to do because you don't have money. This is for you. Take a good look at your finances. Take a look at your schedule and your credit card bill. Remember your values from last week, the prosperity roadmap. Is your credit card bill and your calendar aligned with your values? Because if it's not, there's your red flag. Time and money should be aligned with your values. And ask yourself, like, how do I feel about my finances as I review them? What do I notice? Does it feel draining? This might be really hard for you. It might be really, really hard to be like, oh my God, I pay so much money and, childcare, or I don't know, whatever it is, especially if you're a single mom, right? Take a look and notice how do you feel? How much time and money do you spend on yourself? Is it always going to everyone else? Is it going to paying bills? That can feel like such a drag. What is your money saboteur? Get clear on that. What do you say? How do you feel? What do you notice that is not aligning to prosperity, that is not creating wealth in your life? Now that you've been given the saboteurs, hopefully you can identify the ways in which you show up and the things that you're saying so that you can begin to rewire them. And ask yourself, how can I change my words and my actions? How can I change my words and my actions? Like right now, stop saying you're busy. Stop saying you don't have the money, because there is money available. It's what you need to say is that it's not aligned with my values at this time. If you're saying that, that's empowered. But if you're saying I just don't have the money, that's scarcity, and that is not prosperity consciousness. Maybe you can't see where the money's going to come from. Maybe you're not willing to do what it takes to bring in some more income to pay for something. Maybe you don't trust that it will be there. Say that. And then lastly, thinking in terms of prosperity being embodied trust, where do I need to trust more? So thinking in terms of prosperity being embodied trust, where do I need to trust more in my life? Is it in relationships, money, health, others, God? Those are all areas. So let's all take a deep breath. Thank you for joining me in this. Thank you for being willing to join me in this series around prosperity consciousness. And I hope that I've given you the tools to begin uncovering your money origin story, your money blocks, and your money saboteur. Because this affects your ability to receive, which affects your ability to live in the frequency of prosperity and abundance. So, feel free to send me a message. Let me know about your insights. I know you're learning a lot on this. I've already been receiving messages. I'm super happy to share this with you. For those of you that want to dive deeper, I'm going to put a special link for you to join the course. Join the thousands of other women that have joined my coaching programs over 15 years who are thriving in health, wealth, and love. Or they're growing into it. They're expanding into it. I'd love to welcome you. My group coaching programs are usually smaller and intimate groups. So at this time, because this course is fairly new, it came out in the beginning of 2021, you get a more intimate experience. You get me coaching you, and you get the opportunity at this time. It's still available to upgrade to a private session with me, which is super fun because we go really quickly, laser focused, with clarity and intuitively guided straight into your blocks, your story. So thank you so much for being with me on the show again this week. Join me again next week where we talk about how to align to your empowering money story. So this is where we create the shift. Okay, so right now we're still digging deep. Next week, we're going to talk about how to align energetically to redesign that reticular activating system into your empowering money story. And I can't wait to do that with you. I hope you have a fabulous week. With love and aloha, I'll see you next week.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Hello, friends, and thank you so much for joining again each week on the Body and Soul Wisdom podcast. I am so deeply honored to share this space with you every week. I know that there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and our community is expanding and growing more with each new episode. I'd like to invite you to come on over to jenmons.com/tribe and receive some of the wonderful gifts that we have for you: a meditation bundle, energetic alignment, 5-element wealth, prosperity consciousness. We have a ton of different gifts available for you to enjoy. Now, we have one small favor to ask. In order for this podcast to get into the hearts and souls of like and light-minded people, we need your support. We would love your review, and would love it if you'd head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review or leave one on iTunes so that we can continue to share the love beyond out into the world. Thank you so much again for joining in. We'll see you next week.